Hello there, one and everybody. This is your friendly neighborhood Oxhorn, here as always, with my suspender set to maximum stun. Got a great show for you today. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. Today is part 3 of playing Metro 2033, which is a post-apocalyptic game set in Russia. So, kind of like Fallout, but if it happened in Russia. Although not in a retrofuturism sort of world. Anyway, we've been playing it on the program for the past couple of weeks, so we're going to continue with it today, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun. By the way, I have heard all of your feedback. We tried something different last week. We tried having some of the moderators on my Discord server reading the questions to me as you ask them. That way I don't miss everything, and that way I don't get distracted by a bunch of text flying off the screen. The problem was that when I was playing the game, the questions were throwing me for a loop. Like, I'm trying to focus on the game, and then I get a question, and then I'm focusing on the answer, and then I get attacked, or I miss something. So, the questions were distracting during gameplay. I hear you loud and clear, so we're going to nix that, or we're going to change it a little bit. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to have a Q&A section at the beginning here. Then I'm going to jump into the video game. We're going to play a little bit, and then maybe we'll pause for a break after a big scary scene, for example, and I might ask another question. So that should streamline things a little bit. But we have a lot of really great mods in the chat right now who are going to be reading all of your questions and sending me the best ones. If you want to, staff, feel free to say hi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Awesome. Pleasure to have you guys on the program today. So,
More than happy to be here.
Yeah.
first things first. As always here on Scotch and Smoke Rings, we've got the Scotch to get through. Today we are drinking 10-year-old Glen Cullen, which is a nice mid-shelf whiskey, a mid-shelf Scotch. But I've got a lot of work ahead of me, so we're going to fill it up a little bit. It's deceptive. That's mostly ice. There, mostly ice. And no cigars this week. I'm taking a break from cigars for a little bit. Oxhorn, will you ever do any games other than Fallout? Yeah, I'm doing Metro 2033 today. But, you know, if you mean, will I be doing any video content, like sit-down lore content, maybe someday. When I've fully exhausted the entire Fallout universe, maybe something else. But for right now, I'm really interested in the Fallout universe, which of course brings us to our next point. How have you guys been liking Dead Money Week? I realize it's been more than a week, but I had to go out of town. It wasn't a vacation. I had to go out of town for about 3 days, but I am back. During that time, I scheduled some content to publish while I was away so that I didn't leave you guys hanging. But we published episode 7 of the Dead Money series today, which was the death of Veracruz. A very poignant episode. I had a whole lot of fun putting it together. A lot of great comments on the video, so I'm really pleased you guys have been enjoying that. And then tomorrow we've got the final episode in the Dead Money series, which is going to be episode 8 on items and aid and achievements and challenges and all of the stuff. All of the gear and loot that we can get out of Dead Money. Some of it is surprisingly tricky to get. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and I've been working on that video all day. I'm not even close to getting done, which is why I'm enjoying my Scotch right now. This is a great break, because I'm going to be working pretty late into the evening. So that's my day. I hope your day is going well. We're probably going to be playing Metro for at least an hour, maybe a little bit more. Oh, and by the way, last week during the gameplay portion of this program, I was so distracted by the chat that I completely ran out of filters for my gas mask in the game. Which is why I died over and over and over again. If you check out last week's episode, towards the end there, I kept dying over and over and over again as I was suffocating because I was above ground without any gas masks. So, but never fear, I reloaded a previous save, and I went and bought a bunch of filters before I went back out into the Dead Town. Is that what it was called? Dead Town? Something like that. So I retraced my steps. I'm back to where I was, and I went a little bit further. So when we jump into Metro, All that has changed is that I got through that portion. Remember, I jumped on the car. It slid into the water. I got doused in icy cold water, and I had to find a way around. I found a way around. I reunited with my friend, whatever his name was, and we just went into this new base, but then he got kidnapped by people. So these guys kind of beat him up a little bit, and I don't know if they're good guys or bad guys, and so I've got to do like a stealth thing. So that's where we're at, just to catch everybody up, and we'll get to that portion of the program in a minute. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's Q&A time. You've got questions, I've got answers, and I've come prepared with something to entertain me while you guys ask what you like. We've got a lot of great mods in the chat today who are going to be serving your questions to me. So, without further ado, I shall hand it over to you. What is on your mind? I would love to hear your thoughts.
So we have one general well-being question first from Nathan Grantley on YouTube, who asks, Oxhorn, how was your holiday?
It was fine, but it wasn't a holiday. I wasn't going on vacation. We went out of town for a few days, and it was an unavoidable thing that we had to go take care of, and we are now back. So I'm glad to be home, and we're back on track, publishing as many videos as we possibly can.
Another one from Mysterious Stranger on YouTube says, what Scotch do you drink? Or are you drinking, should I ask?
Well, there's no one Scotch that I drink. I try to experiment and try as many as I can. Today we are drinking 10-year-old Glencullen. Last few weeks ago we had some Lagavulin. I think I finished that one. And I threw away the bottle. Yeah, Lagavulin is gone, but the Lagavulin has been my favorite so far. However, the Glencullen is very nice. I also like Lafroig and Glenlivet. Anything peaty, anything that tastes like a campfire. That's the kind of Scotch I like.
Jack Torrey asks, favorite Fallout moment overall?
Favorite Fallout moment?
Favorite Fallout moment.
Well, I don't know about
It's wide of a question, that is.
It is. I don't know what my favorite moment would be, but I'll tell you what the most shocking moment for me was. And, okay, spoiler alert for anyone who almost 2 years later has not gotten halfway through Fallout 4. This is a spoiler. It's a main story spoiler about halfway through the game. It has to do with the sole survivor and his or her family and his or her son. This is your chance. All right, so the most shocking moment for me, and I probably should have been able to predict it, but the most shocking moment for me was I finally get into the Institute, because what I was doing with my characters, since I was a completionist, this was long before I ever started making videos. I'm playing Fallout 4. I'm trying to learn everything. I'm exploring every location. I'd done Adam Katz and the Cabot, and I hadn't done any DLCs. Those hadn't dropped yet, but I did absolutely everything in the game, and then I finally went down and started doing the story. I had all of the other companions. I had all of their perks, and then I go back to the story. I'm level 50, 60 something, and I finally get to the Institute, and then Father drops the bomb on me, tells me his true identity. And I was legitimately shocked. I know that might not have come as a surprise to many people, but I was legitimately shocked and really, really upset. I was really upset when I learned the true identity of Father, because I really emotionally connected with the going to get your son. You know, your spouse is dead. Oh, that's horrible. And now you got to go find your child. And then to have that bomb dropped on me, I was like, after everything we've heard about the Institute, after how evil I think Father is, to hear that, it was upsetting. But that's probably one of the most memorable storyline moments for me.
And a question from Beaver 1820, who says, what New Vegas DLC will you be doing next if you have any current roadmap of progress in that area?
I'll be doing them in order. Obsidian released them in a specific order, and so I'm going to be going through and doing them in a bit of an order. I had many people saying that I should have done Old World Blues first, and I chose not to simply because, you know, if I had done Old World Blues first, then we would have read all of this lore about this guy named Father Elijah, and we wouldn't have any idea who he was. So instead, I'm doing Dead Money first, and we get to meet Father Elijah, and we get to answer all of the questions that have been raised with everything we've learned about the Brotherhood of Steel up until that point, Veronica, Elder McNamara. So at least we get those stories answered. And Obsidian had a lot of foreshadowing. In fact, there's even a challenge you can earn in the game related to hearing all of the foreshadowing events. So Obsidian designed the DLC to refer to things that were going to be happening in the future, that is, in the Old World Blues DLC, and so I figured I would weave that into the narrative. Instead of doing things out of order, I want to do them in order. So my storyline videos will explore the DLCs for New Vegas as the player would have explored them had he installed New Vegas and played along as the DLCs came out. I think that's more in line with the intention of the storyline being consumed by Obsidian when they sat down to create the content. I hope that answers your question.
That makes a lot of sense. Alex, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but Alcala asks, what brand is your hat, Oxhorn?
Oh!
Or what make is?
Well, I bought this hat years ago, over 10 years ago, back when the internet was young and my Oxhorn career was young, back before Amazon was just another one of those shops online. And at that time, when I bought this hat, I bought it from a place called MikeTheHatter.com. I have no idea if that website is still around, and if I were to do it all over again, I would probably buy this from Amazon, because Amazon has everything these days. So I got it from Mike the Hatter, but you could probably get it from Amazon.
So McLovin Cheeseburger asks, your favourite Fallout 4 companion? Well, I believe we have answered this every week.
My favorite Fallout 4 companion?
Your favourite companion?
I mean, that's a tricky question. Who do I admire most? I admire the principles of Preston. Who do I think is more entertaining to travel with? I really like traveling with Nick Valentine. Who do I have the most empathy for? It would probably be Kate. I'm really empathetic towards Kate. Her story is tragic. I feel for her. I want to protect her. Who do I think is the cutest? It's got to be Curie. She's just so adorable. Her story is a little shallow. We'll be exploring that in a future video. Don't worry, I'm going to go into everything, including the terminals in Vault 81. We're going to be telling her story, but, you know, her entire life experiences has, up until this point, been within Vault 81, so she has had to learn about morality and ethics and the world from books and relationships with other people instead of through world experience, which means she comes out into the wasteland really naive. And that's really adorable and cute, but it also means that she's a little shallow when it comes to personality. Still, I mean, she's really interesting. I mean, I hung out with Curie quite a lot during my playthrough because I liked her that well. So, I don't know, each of the companions is really interesting in their own way. So, it's hard for me to pick my favorite.
We have had a tip on YouTube from Caleb Schumacher, but he doesn't seem to have asked a question.
That's okay. Thank you very much for the tip. I appreciate it. Greg says, how you say Yahoo? I know. She's such a French trope, but it's really funny. There are a lot of tropes with the companions in Fallout 4. You've got the news girl, the intrepid news girl in Piper, which is kind of a trope. Then you've got the noir detective in Valentine, which is again a little bit of a trope. Then you've got the Irish boxer chick, right? I mean, she's this bare-knuckle, drug-addled brawler, Irish girl, which is a little bit of a trope. But that's okay. Tropes are there for a reason, and it's because people relate to them and they're interesting.
Dark Ox asks, do you have a business email for mod recommendations or any sort of business contacts?
I do have a business email listed on my YouTube channel, but I really don't take mod requests or mod suggestions. When it comes to mods, I kind of just review what I like. And I'm pretty good at keeping up to date with the mods that are available out there. I've got Nexus mods open in one browser tab all the time, so I see everything that comes through. And if it's interesting to me, I'll save it. And I've got a big document of all of the mods that I want to review at any given time. For example, the weapon retexture video that I did recently, that was months and months and months in the making. As textures appeared on the Nexus, I would just save them in a document until I had, 20, 25. Then I'm like, okay, that's enough for a video. So I've kind of got my own mod review schedule going.
Catherine Ribsky asks, least favorite companion? Slightly tricky question.
Least favorite. The companion I despise the most as a person is X688. I mean, you see him in most of my videos because he's the Institute companion, and I'm playing through the game again to shoot most of my footage with my Institute character, since she's the last character I played. Therefore, a lot of the content has yet to be discovered with her, which makes her a great character to shoot footage with. And trying to stay true to an Institute playthrough, I hang out with X688. But he's easy to hate just because he hates humanity. He hates everyone above ground. So as a person, I dislike X688 the most. In terms of character depth, Codsworth is really boring. I like Codsworth. I like his personality. His robot butler is funny. Seeing this Mr. Handy dive into combat with a buzzsaw and a flamer is just hilarious. And the fact that you can mod him in an automatron robot workbench is great. He's a very functional, utilitarian character, and I like that he exists. But in terms of story, there's nothing there. I mean, we know everything. Even as you change affinity, it's kind of awkward because you increase with affinity with Codsworth, and it's adulation stacked upon adulation. You crawl out of the vault, and he loves you like a puppy dog. And then you gain even greater affinity, and he just tells you again how wonderful you are. It's one of those things where Codsworth is just kind of boring. But, I mean, he's still... I mean, I like the fact that he's there, and I like hanging out with him a lot. So, again, another tough call.
Stewie Griffin asks, and I believe this might be the toughest question you've had so far. What is your favourite cheese, Oxhorn?
My favourite cheese?
Your favourite cheese?
Oh, it depends upon the application. I'll tell you what my favourite cheese application is. You get me a ribeye steak, then get a bunch of blue cheese, mixed with like a peppercorn sauce. Smear that on the ribeye steak with a nice big beer or a glass of scotch. That's probably my best cheese application. But as for an everyday cheese, it's hard to go wrong with some sharp cheddar. The sharper, the more orange, the better.
I believe everyone has to say cheddar.
Cheddar's
It's got standard cheese. Nighthawk8412 asks, which villain is your favourite? I'm assuming he means a Fallout villain or antagonist.
Father is just there. I think this was even asked last week, but Father is my favorite Fallout villain. He's so interesting. There's so much going on. He says and does one thing, but in the back of his mind, he thinks another thing. He's a very dynamic, interesting character. Arthur Maxson is not that interesting. He's very honest. He's an honest guy. He says what he means. And he hates super mutants, and he hates synths, and he just hates all of that. And he's very boring that way. He's predictable. Respectable? I can respect the fact that he's very honest, and he says what he believes. I respect that. I don't think his ambitions are very respectable. Tectus is also fairly boring. I mean, he's just nasty. Tectus, the Children of Adam Far Harbor DLC. I like his voice actor. I guess that's going to be the biggest compliment I can give Tectus. His voice acting is great. But as far as a villain, he's really, one-sided. All right, I thought I saw a $50 tip in there along with a question. Did you see that one?
You did indeed, from World Traveler 65, who, not so much as a question, but he says, thanks for the videos, learning a lot. I just picked up Fallout 4 2 weeks ago. It's quite a substantial tip.
Great, I wanted to make sure that we got that one. I wasn't paying attention, I just saw the color flash by. Well, thank you very much, I really appreciate it.
And another tip from Scott Lenove, who says, your top 3 favourite moments from the Fallout New Vegas DLC.
My top 3 favorite what?
Favourite moments.
Well, I'm not through New Vegas yet. Did they say a DLC or through just New Vegas itself?
He said DLC, but I will happily extend that question to the entirety of New Vegas.
Well, since the only DLC that I've really given a lot of attention to is Dead Money, I'll tell you my top 3 moments in Dead Money. Really the most powerful moment in Dead Money. Oh, I saw somebody say that they don't want any spoilers because they're still going through my videos. Okay. They're still going through the Dead Money series, so no Dead Money spoilers. How can I answer this question? Probably my favorite moment in the Dead Money DLC was when we get down to the vault. There's no secret. We know there's a vault. And we see the remains of a... How do I do this without spoiling it? We see the remains of a certain important figure who was responsible for the reason we're there. And there's a terminal entry related... I can't answer this question without spoiling it. It's really tricky. Yeah, I can't answer it without spoiling it. So, tell you what. If you want to know my favorite moments in Dead Money, watch my 7 video series, which will be 8 tomorrow. And the moments that I spend the most time talking about are the moments that meant the most to me. So in today's video, the video I published today, which is my favorite video so far, I had so much fun putting it together. Check out the musical montage towards the end. I spent a lot of time shooting footage of the characters and the key stories that really meant the most to me. And that's where my favorite moments are. How's that? No spoilers. I answered the question.
That'll do for a spoiler-free answer. RusTXL asks, a question for Oxhorn, what is your favourite or worst questline in Fallout 4? I'm assuming that question is for. Favourite or least favourite?
My least favorite quest line in Fallout 4 is going to be anything having to do with go here, kill X, retrieve Y. Thankfully, those quests are very rare. But there are a lot of Radiant quests like that. The Minuteman Radiant quests are famous, infamous, for being really annoying. And that's because they're so simple. But I understand the game design decision for doing that. It allows you to roleplay a general of the Minutemen. It gives you the sense of accomplishment, you're actually achieving something, and it fluffs out the game. It gives the developers an easy way to give you a regular steady stream of content even after you beat the game. So I understand the game mechanic reason why those Radiant quests are there. But in terms of how interesting they are my least favorite quests. As for my favorite quest, it's really hard, but I'd have to say the quest that really just, aside from the main story, the quest that really pulled the rug out from under my feet and made me question where I stood morally was in Far Harbor doing the siding with Acadia line of quests, where you go into the mine and you get the memories and you track down where Avery, the true, real Avery was. When I dug up that corpse, and I sat there and I saw the holotape and I saw the skull and I'm sitting there realizing what happened, it was so well written. And it was so hard because Dima's supposed to be the good guy. This is something that he complained about the railroad against. The very thing he did, he criticizes the railroad for doing if you first talk to Dima as a railroad character. If you side with the railroad and you go to Dima and you try to talk with him about the railroad, he complains about the railroad. He's like, well, the railroad wipes the minds of synths and all of this. And then you learn more about Dima. You find out he's done the very thing he criticizes the railroad for doing. But when he does it, it's because it's necessary. It's necessary to do it when he does it because he's trying to save the island. And you're sitting there trying to just juggle all of the moral consequences of it was just really well written. And I love it when Bethesda or Obsidian puts us into the position where everything we've believed is now questioned and we kind of have to straddle this gray line. That's just really, really good storytelling. I'd say that's probably one of my top quests right there.
Scott Luneau, who just previously asked a question about your favorite New Vegas DLC moments, gave another tip and said, it's cool. I assume your answer was satisfactory.
Okay, good. I'm glad my answer was satisfactory. It's good to hear.
Oliver Deakins asks, favorite video game soundtrack?
Final Fantasy Tactics.
Fantastic choice.
Anybody remember that soundtrack? I don't know. I have listened. I once said on my Discord server when somebody asked me how much music I listen to, I said I don't listen to a lot of music. And it's true, I don't listen to a lot of music now because, 99% of my time every day is spent working on these videos. I just don't have time. But that doesn't mean I don't like music. I do like music, and I have listened to a lot in the past, especially when I was less busy. And the Final Fantasy Tactics soundtrack and the Chrono Cross soundtrack, those two soundtracks, maybe it's because I'm an old school gamer, but those two soundtracks really just inspired me creatively when I was younger. When I wrote my novel years ago, I wrote it sitting down at my computer, listening to the Chrono Cross soundtrack on loop. When I worked through college, when I got through college, I did all of my schoolwork listening to the Final Fantasy Tactics soundtrack on loop. Those two soundtracks were just so well done. And, you go back and listen to it now, and it's kind of cringy because all of those soundtracks were made in the 90s, and so they were using synthesized instruments, whereas now you can get these wonderful music libraries, and even if you're creating the music on your computer, all of the instruments come from the recordings of real instruments that you can then manipulate. And so music made today sounds so much better. But even that music that was made in the 90s for Final Fantasy VII, which is another great soundtrack, or Final Fantasy Tactics, even though it kind of sounds like it's a synthesizer or whatever, it still sounds really great. Maybe it's just nostalgia, but that's my answer.
Dr. Predator 1 asks, hey Oxhorn, have you heard of the series of the True Vault escapades or the Storyteller series, which are both about the Fallout War? P.S. He says it's his birthday today.
Well, happy birthday, and I'm glad you're spending it here on Scotch and Smoke Rings. Pleasure to have you on the program, and the answer is no. I mean, I have heard of them. The viewers will go to my videos and leave comments comparing me to this or comparing me to that, or, linking to their favorite episode from another YouTuber. But, I don't know if it's wise or unwise for me to reveal this or not, but I don't watch a lot of YouTube videos. Before I got into making my videos, it wasn't because I watched a lot of YouTube videos and thought, hey, I could do that. No, I had never watched any YouTube videos about games. Ever. Like, I never watched The Storyteller, or I don't know. The only videos I watched before I started making videos were Fudge Muppet character builds. And they do a great job, right? I was really interested in the game, and so I would watch the Fudge Muppet character builds, and they're excellent. Even with Fallout New Vegas, my character in New Vegas, I designed that after the cowboy/cowgirl character build by Fudge Muppet. It's just exceptionally well done. But when it comes to story and RPGs and role-playing and all that, I never watched any of those videos online. And part of the reason I don't watch any other YouTubers is because I don't want to be influenced. I know that many people will kind of want to keep up with the Joneses and they watch other YouTubers to see what else is being done, but I don't, because I want my editorial calendar, my content schedule, to be mine. I don't want it to be inspired by anyone else. I don't want people to come to my channel and say, oh, well, I already saw this on so-and-so's channel elsewhere. So I just play the game, and when something enters my head and I want to make a video, I make a video on it. Out of my own convenience or because I'm interested in it, not because somebody else has already done it.
Going in with a clean slate, so to speak.
Yeah, pretty much.
Luke S asks, what is one thing you would alter about your online persona if you had the chance? Or alternative, what is something ascribed to you about which you are most surprised?
That's a great question, but I don't have an answer. He's basically asking, what do I hate about myself? Nothing. I'm pretty comfortable with myself. My online persona, people will often say, hey, Oxhorn, do you look like that when you're not doing the show? Do you dress like that when you're not doing the show? And the answer is yes. I mean, I don't take off the beard when I end the program. And I don't, change into a costume when I sit down to do the program. The only thing I don't wear out in public is this. Yes, the hat is part of the whole Oxhorn thing. I only wear it during my show and when I'm supposed to be Oxhorn. The only times I ever wear it in person is when I go to conventions. And I used to go to conventions all the time. Back when I was doing the whole World of Warcraft thing, I was big into BlizzCon, and I would go every single year, and I would wear the hat. Okay. But outside of that, I never wear the hat. The hat is really the only thing I put on when I when I don the mantle of Oxhorn. I put on the hat and sit in front of the camera. But otherwise, I'm not really ashamed of anything. It's an interesting question. No, I'm not ashamed of... No, I wouldn't change anything about my online persona. How about that?
Tick Tick Boom ticked you and said, played Fallout and missed so many terminals. Thank you very much for finding them all.
You're welcome. And the truth is that I did too. When I played through on my first character, I think I played like many of you played. You're really interested in completing the quest, finishing the main story, getting the gear, working on your character. The technical aspect of the game is in and of itself a really interesting part of the game. You know, working on modifying your weapons, tweaking your character build. That is what can consume a lot of one's time, and it may be where one gets the most enjoyment. And I certainly did when I went through the first time. But after you get through the game the first time, the reason to come back is the story. And a lot of people would tell me that the story of Fallout 4 sucked. And that bothered me because the story of Fallout 4, I can't say I related to it because I'm not a female lawyer who lost a son and then went out. You know, I can't relate to it, but I felt it. Like, I felt the story of Fallout 4, and it was good, and I knew it was good, and I knew there was evidence out there that the story of Fallout 4 was good. And so part of what I was trying to do with these videos is to prove it. And I'm going to each and every single one of these locations. I'm going to raid every daggone blasted terminal. I'm going to prove it that this story is good. And I think I did so with the Toy Maker, the story of Arlen Glass, and the Wilson Automatoys Factory. And I think I did so when I talked about all the different factions, because once you assemble all of the evidence that Bethesda puts out there in the world about each of the factions, you find out that these factions weren't just conjured up in a day. These factions have a lot of thought behind them. Also, if you go through the book, The Art of Fallout 4, so when I was on my trip, the only book I brought with me, I brought 2 books. So the 2 books I brought with me were The Art of Fallout 4 and The Art of Fallout 3. You go through The Art of Fallout 4, the amount of effort and design that went into every single character, every single location, every monster, every set piece, every piece of architecture, the color palette. It's just mind-boggling how much work they put into this, and to think that they also wouldn't put a good story along with all of that work. I mean, it's just, you have to not understand how games are made, or to understand the people who make games, to be able to say something like that. I mean, I can understand if one says, well, X story is not good as Y story. Sure, everyone's going to have their personal preference, but I've always known, when I went through Fallout 4 the first time, that the story is really good. You just got to take the time to smell the roses. And I understand that there are so many people out there who they can't take the time to smell the roses because they're so busy with their own characters. And that's fine. That's why I'm making my videos. I'm going to go through every dungeon. I'm going to go through every location. I'm going to assemble the evidence, and I'm going to tell the story in a way that may be more palatable for people who prefer to watch the stories in video format rather than discover them on their own in a video game. That's what I'm attempting to do with my channel.
Roger the Urban Legend asks, would you appreciate Fallout 5 implementing multiplayer or even heading in direction of an MMO?
No. I'm done with MMOs. I respect MMOs. I really do. I spent many years of my life playing MMOs. First Ultima Online, then Dark Age of Camelot, then World of Warcraft. So I get it. I like MMOs. But I can't do MMOs anymore. And my wife has recently learned the same lesson. She was playing ESO for a very long time, Elder Scrolls Online. And after about a year of playing ESO, she just had to stop. She just couldn't do it anymore. And that's because when you play an MMO, the drama of dealing with other people distracts from the world and the story. You find yourself logging in to deal with guild politics or to show up to a 10-man dungeon raid. And then you got to worry about having your rotation down and making sure your DPS is enough and making sure that you're healing enough. And are you meeting this benchmark? Are you meeting that benchmark? And it becomes a job. And I realize that there are some people who can play an MMO and it doesn't get that way. But maybe it's just the way I play MMOs. Maybe as a completionist or someone who really, digs deep. Maybe I'm just the kind of personality who can't do an MMO because it just consumes my life. I'm happy to admit that. It may be my problem. But when I play MMOs, to do it right, I have to get so into it that it just consumes my time. If Fallout ever became an MMO, I would play it and then I wouldn't be able to do anything else. It would be so hard for me to produce content about an MMO because I would be so preoccupied with the guild and the gear and, rotations and the people. It would distract from the world. One of the wonderful things about Fallout, I think, are the moments of pause. When it comes to shooters, it's really action-packed. You're going from moment to moment. It's high-octane. But with Fallout 4, there are high-octane moments and then moments of pause. And the moments of pause are the most important moments in Fallout 4. Because it's during those moments when you're not shooting something, when you're not on a Zeppelin or a vertibird with a minigun shooting at something, it's during those moments that you can examine the skeletons of the people who died to a nuclear blast. And you can learn their story. And you can interpret a story through the set design, and you can really appreciate the feel of the world. And that would be really hard to do in an MMO setting, I think, or in a multiplayer setting when you've got other people who serve as distractions, or other people who are laying down their interpretation on the world that you're trying to understand. So, I would, if they ever did it, I'd still play it. I'm not going to sit there and sign some crazy online petition. No, Bethesda, don't do something with your own IP that I disapprove of. I'm not going to get down like that. But I have to say, I like the fact that it's a single-player game, and I like the moments of pause. Those moments are really important.
Question from Monkstein2 said, how did you and Vinlik Puma handle the video copy scandal between one another? Was there a back alley fight that we did not hear about to settle who gets the right stuff?
I like how people use the word scandal. One thing I've noticed about the whole YouTube thing, people are constantly trying to get me embroiled in scandals. Just all the time. Like, I'll check out my private messages on YouTube or even on Discord, and people are wanting me to respond to this guy or respond to that guy, and it's like, dude, I don't want to be involved in a scandal. I'm not doing this for the drama. I really don't care. And so when it comes to things like that, I tend to just let them go. People want to say what they want about my videos. Okay, just say what you want and move on. That's fine. Now, the specific event that you're referring to is another one of those moments that should never have been a quote-unquote scandal, but it became one because so many people were freaking out about it. This goes back to when I made my video on the mysterious stranger. It just so happened that Puma and I decided to make a video on the same topic at the same day. I got lucky. I published mine a few hours before he published his. I just got lucky. Had I published my video a few hours after he had published his, the roles would have been reversed, and everyone would have come to my channel saying, Oxhorn, you stole the content, and blah, blah, blah. But instead, I got lucky and I managed to publish my video first, and so everyone went to poor Puma and started saying that he was copying me, which is ridiculous. And a lot of people come to my channel and say things like that all the time on my videos, and you respond to that kind of stuff by ignoring it. If you respond to a troll or to someone who's trying to strike up drama and a scandal, then all you're doing is giving credence to it. You're supporting it. You're shining a spotlight on it when otherwise it would have been buried in the sea of more trolls talking. So when it comes to things like that, I tend not to respond. But then the next day, Puma releases his own video addressing the scandal, and I had to address it. I had to say something just for his own sake because I didn't want people, crucifying this poor guy. So I then went on to his video and said, look, this is what happens when you do YouTube. Sometimes things like this happen. I don't own Fallout. He doesn't own Fallout. No one owns Fallout. We can make a video about the same topic, even at the same time, and it's okay, guys. Calm down. And I think that calmed things down a little bit. The comments I got in response to that comment were positive. So when it comes to other YouTubers, I take a step back, let people say what they want, let people do what they want. I'm not going to get embroiled in the drama as long as I possibly can.
Nightingale asks, how do you feel about people saying you sound like Tom Hanks? And that was for a tip.
That's fine. It came as a surprise to me because I've been doing this for a very long time, and for the longest time, even on my old channel, people would say that I look like Jack Black or sound like Kevin Smith. I would get a lot of those comments. No one said anything about Tom Hanks. So when I started doing my Fallout videos, people started mentioning Tom Hanks, and I'm like, why would they think I sound like Tom Hanks? And I think it has to do with a regional accent. I think it's because I'm on the West Coast and Tom Hanks lives in Hollywood, and so maybe Californians and Washingtonians share a similar way of expressing, a similar dialect, a similar accent, a similar way of saying words. And maybe that's what people who are far-flung across the globe are picking up on. They saw Tom Hanks using a California accent in some Hollywood movie, and then they see me, a guy who lives in Seattle, using a similar accent because we are very close together in terms of geography, and maybe that's the connection they're making. That's, I don't care. If people want to say I sound like Tom Hanks, great. That's fine with me. He's got a great voice. I love Tom Hanks. I'll take it.
I think there's far worse insults you can receive.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, there's far worse insults you can be given.
There are far worse. That's very true.
WellTravel65 with another tip asks, do you have a video or can you make a video showing how to clear the Milton Hospital and let the nurse handies live? I've only seen them get killed so far, so I was just wondering.
I've done a video on the Milton Hospital. I believe we did the Milton Hospital when I did my Silver Shroud video, I believe. Why would you want to leave the Mr. Handies alive? Like, I never thought that was something people would want. Is there an achievement or a challenge that I'm unaware of related to keeping the Mr. Handies or the Miss Nannies alive inside the Milton Hospital?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of either, so I'm not sure. I don't think I would make a video dedicated specifically to that topic, but if forced to give you advice, I'd say use a stealth boy, spec high into stealth, press caps lock so that you're crawling everywhere, and just sneak by. You're golden.
Techno Geek Girl asks, any new designs on t-shirt ideas you can tell us about?
Yes. I have a long list of t-shirt designs that I need to get made, and people have been asking for a Mirelurk Den t-shirt. And I suppose I should make one. So, but I've been so distracted recently with my new series on Dead Money, and then I had to leave town, that I have not had the time to work on new t-shirt designs. So I'll try and reach out to the fine folks over at Teespring and try and get some new designs done.
Dead Fox asks, how many hours do you have total in Fallout 4?
I don't know. I mean, someone who has access to Steam would be able to tell. Let's see. Fallout 4. It says 2,683 hours played. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what Steam says. All right, one more question, and then we're going to move on into the game.
Okay. Red asks, Oxhorn, which of the characters you created is your favourite? Your Railroad Institute, Minutemen, or Brotherhood characters?
My Minuteman, or my Railroad, well, my first Railroad, which, okay, my first character ever, the Sniper, is my favorite. I love being able to snipe. I love the headshots. I tend to always go for rifle sniper characters. When it comes to my second favorite, I'd have to say my Institute character. I really like my Brotherhood of Steel character. I love heavy weapons. I wanted to do a heavy weapons build. I'm glad I did. But I really like the fast-paced combat of my Institute character who's spec'd into Commando. So she's spec'd into Commando, she uses automatic rifles, and I never use VATS on her, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. That would probably be my second. Okay, let's move on to Metro. Let's end my music. Let's change the camera. And if I don't freeze,